Are we living in the Matrix? Is the universe just one big simulation? What if everything we thought we knew was nothing more than virtual reality? Ponder the answers to these questions and more with my next guest, glitch artist and electronic musician Eve Katharsis.
Hi.
Hey. So, can you tell me about your name, where you're from, and who you are as an artist?
Sure. My name is Eve Kat, and that's short for Catharsis. That's my chosen artist name. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, and what was the last thing?
Who are you as an artist?
Oh, who am I as an artist? That's interesting. Well, I consider myself a healing artist because I used art throughout my life to reflect my inner world and heal myself of various mental health symptoms that I struggled with in the past. And I'm a mental health awareness advocate. So I feel like a lot of things are really connected with mental health and our minds and how we can, you know, control our own realities and things like that. So I used art as a tool mainly to uh, help alchemize and just be more conscious of myself and the world around me.
Would you say that your goals as an artist relate to the name that you chose?
Yes, I'd say that catharsis means an emotional release or purge, usually in a creative way. So that for me was basically something that held strong throughout my artwork, even since high school. Just it's always been about purifying and like changing my emotions and becoming aware of my inner world where at the time especially the world was very I guess closed minded to mental and emotional experiences. So yeah.
So, all right. Well, when did you come up with that name? It sounds like it was a while ago. And a related question to that would be, how did you get your start as an artist?
Sure. So I came up with the name. hmm, it has been such a long time ago. I don't even remember where when it happened, but yeah, I was probably in college at the time, but I was always looking for um, kind of like an alter ego or alternative identity as an artist because I'm an immigrant actually, and my actual name that was given to me by my family was just so foreign, and it just didn't feel like myself in this new world that I was in. So I also just wanted to represent, like, as the name is so important of what I am as an artist. So yeah, I kind of chose that when I was studying, and now I remember going back. I was studying Greek mythology, and I was really fascinated um, by all of that entire world, and I chose um, catharsis with a K and not a C. Um, I was inspired by that, and I kind of just wanted to connect it to like ancient philosophy, like something that's beyond me also. So
Hmm.
that's how I chose the name. And so besides that, I got started as an artist. I was in a special high school for the arts, and I thought I was always kind of in the middle about like, would I be an artist or maybe I tried pursuing art therapy.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely have kind of always been involved in the arts some way or another. And maybe not in the art world or professional world sense. I'm more of an outsider artist, but yeah.
Cool. What kind of art did you start doing uh, back in high school? Like, what were you there for particularly?
Sure, yeah. Well, we were mainly learning drawing and painting, just the basics, and then we went on to mixed media, which really opened my mind to like what art could possibly be and just the various ways of expressing yourself, which was great to me because, usually when I show people my drawings or paintings, I always get met with like, wow, I can't do that. I can't draw a stick figure. You're so talented. But I'm like, well, this is like 10, 20 plus years of practice, but you can also express yourself in other ways that don't necessarily have to be traditional media. So yeah, been doing all kinds multimedia art throughout my experience in high school and then into college where I got my bachelor's in studio art and yeah, been doing art all the time.
So it sounds like you said mixed media really opened up that world for you. Would you say that it helped you transition from the world of more traditional drawing and painting to eventually the digital world that you work in more now?
Yes, definitely. It definitely helped me expand my uh, kind of understanding of like the possibilities of the ways that I could express myself. Like it wasn't just going to be like sure I could paint and draw and you know do all these things, but yeah, I eventually even tried digital art in school too, and it's just any kind of self-expression in any medium is what was ultimately attractive to me because you're not the thing about art is like you're not boxed in. You can explore all these different avenues and paths, and it's kind of limitless. And yeah, that's what I really appreciated about that.
So can you remember the first time that you really took to digital media?
First time was in high school. I remember we had a little Photoshop class, and I made this digital collage, and I felt like I went into another world because of the images I, was able to just collage. And I remember like I'm getting vague memory of like a person falling through space like onto a clock or something, and it was just like you can just get so creative with all of the resources available online, like in Google Images. You could literally search anything, like um, especially for not being able to draw. So like all the things in the world, you can find something online and like make your own little world or creation out of it. So yeah, that was a long time ago. And I kind of started again like right before the pandemic happened when I was making my healing art cards. So kind of found its way back later.
So the things that you're doing now, they you kind of started them doing them more recently. I guess that it's been a few years since the pandemic now, but it's
Right.
only 2 or 3 years behind us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
can you tell me more about the kind of work that you do now, and how did
sure.
you start doing that exactly? Like, what made you decide to embark on that artistic journey?
Sure. So it was kind of um let's say not circumstantial but a little, it wasn't planned because that was by the time I already kind of found my way into spirituality and realized my gifts and abilities like that are claircognizant, and I was working in a crystal shop and I was surrounded by all of these oracle and tarot cards, and I was always a tarot card reader, but then um, I just one day I actually just made this digital collage and I was like, wait a minute, this is like giving me some sort of feeling or essence behind it. And I was like, what if I did it intentionally and was like, oh, I have an intention to feel peaceful, for example. And then I conjured up images or symbols that would kind of make me feel that peace. So it kind of snowballed from there, from like one digital collage to another to then um, you know, tying that in with what I know about psychology and the subconscious mind. And it kind of snowballed into its own project where suddenly I have a whole deck of these oracle cards, these inspiration cards. And yeah, that's how that project came about.
Nice. So all of your cards have distinct messages. How do you come up with those?
Well, sometimes it's rather spontaneous. It was when I was creating them more, but that evolved in a way as well. So um, the the messages on the cards, like the words, they're intentionally there for a reason, um, because words I feel like are powerful, and when we look at words, they tend to give us that meaning, and we can like take it into our subconscious mind. So the purpose of those words is to kind of like reinforce these ideas, whatever the card is about, like just to reinforce that energy or that thought or the intention that you're having.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's what the messages are about. But when I channel the messages, like actually write the messages on the back of them, for example, like the meanings of them, that just feels like I'm letting go and letting some like higher intelligence like just come through me and just give me words of wisdom. Because yeah, sometimes I reread them and I'm like, I didn't write that. Like who wrote that? Just I'm like pulling from some I don't know, collective consciousness kind of wisdom there. So
Do you come up with the artwork first and then kind of think about what messages would work best with that, or do you come up with the message and the artwork comes later?
yeah, actually, well, it kind of happened in both ways. Like for the deck I was making, it was more of a process where some of the cards I would just come up with the images and then the intentions, or
Hmm.
eventually it came to this place where I would choose an intention and then the symbols. Like I was making personal ones for people. So if somebody wanted, like, let's say a personal intention of success and their favorite symbol or animal was like a butterfly or like a symbol, I don't know, of any kind. And yeah, so I would kind of tie them in together. Like usually the images would represent the intention or the other way around. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another question related to that. So yeah, what do you feel like are the effects of these messages? Are they just changing your way of thinking, or are they shaping reality in a larger way?
I would say both because, well, I believe that we all have the ability to impact our own reality, which, then influences other people.
Hmm.
And especially if we do that with intention. So the idea behind these cards is, uh, let's say if you have an intention and you see it all the time, like sometimes we can struggle with like limiting beliefs or just subconscious, like, I don't know, like negative thoughts or thinking. And it can reflect in our out external reality in different ways. But if we use these as tools to like kind of reinforce what we're consciously intending to our subconscious, it can help kind of bring those two worlds together. Whereas, like, let's say, for example, like somebody's like, oh, I really want to lose weight, but like they can't get themselves to the gym or something. Like if they have um, a card that's like out all the time that's like about health or like wellness or something, and then they see that and it reminds them like subconsciously to like whatever's blocking them to kind of connect it to the conscious mind that actually wants to change that behavior and influence that in some way. That was just an example.
So I find that interesting because it's not just art for the purpose of aesthetics. It's art with like a greater purpose.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was really hoping that people would um understand that aspect to it, that it's not just like a visual image that's you know appealing to the eye, because I use a lot of symmetry and stuff like that. I feel like it's um I don't know, something about symmetrical design. But anyway, I lost my trail of thought there. Like I love design so much. But what was the question again? I'm sorry.
I guess it wasn't really a question. I was just
Oh,
commenting
you were
on
just
how.
commenting on how, all right, how, yeah, it definitely is more of a tool than just an image to be admired.
So you've come a long way from just working on traditional artworks to going to mixed media and eventually landing in this digital space, making these cards. But what other projects are you working on outside of that? And what other projects do you want to work on in the future?
Sure. So I kind of always have a few different projects going on. Um, I have a new kind of painting series about um, spirit animals or animal helpers that essentially uh, takes the essence of that animal and kind of brings it alive in the space.
Hmm.
And I feel like we have like this invisible psychic thread with animals. So when you can, um, it's kind of the same idea behind my cards, but more of like through a painting. For example, I painted my friends a peacock, and the intention behind that painting was also to bring them prosperity and protection. So as I was painting, or when I'm painting these images, or when I'm making the cards, the idea is that I'm meditating in that energy, and I'm like infusing the piece with the like energetic signature, if you want to call it, of that intention or the energy behind the animal. I feel like deeply connected to animals and animal spirits. So um, to be able to work with them in a way, it's kind of leaning towards like a shamanic practitioner style, but to be able to like tune into like animal traits and use them for your benefit. I feel like yeah, that's been my project is really diving deeper into actually painting again. And yeah, there's definitely a magic behind painting. I feel that is obviously removed when we're using a computer or digital devices. So yeah, I'm trying to weave that all back into my paintings. And I definitely have also a large oil painting series about the shoppers that I'm still yet to work on, but I would hope to have a gallery exhibition soon. And yeah, besides that, just working on I'm branching out into making music and also sound healing. So yeah, I'm just always doing a whole lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you actually, I don't know if you made it directly for this show, but you had a whole bunch of music that you gave me to play in a little while on this stream. So before we get into that, can you like how did you get into music?
Well, I've always loved music. If it wasn't art, it was music that was my, true love because I don't know, it just got me through so many challenging years and just to feel like when I didn't really have anybody to relate to or connect with, like there was always music and uh, just like such a deep uh, kind of almost spiritual experience to me with music. So yeah, I only the past few years like just heard this calling like, hey, you love music so much, why don't you make it? I just I never thought, I guess I even took art as like a more safer route than, music because that can get vulnerable in a whole other level of ways. And
Sure.
um, yeah, so eventually I was just like, whatever, let me just try to make some, even though I'm not really experienced or know, but like I know what I like and I know what sounds good. So I just wanted to do it.
That's all you need.
Yep.
And I wanted to make a comment on something you said just a minute ago. How traditional painting is like a different kind of magic in a way
Mm,
from the more digital media. And I think that's true because when you are making any sort of traditional media, you're using your body directly to create that piece of art. But I wouldn't necessarily say that there's no magic
right.
in digital media because in a way, I mean, computers can almost be seen as these magical devices, glowing boxes that connect to other parts of the world and just obtain information out of the ether. Uh,
Right.
and
That's true.
I think it's kind of beautiful that you came from traditional artwork, and even though you loved music everyone loves music, but to go from doing one very different type of artwork and to gradually move into a new form of media to
Mm,
eventually ending at digital artwork. The differences between creating artwork and music in the digital space are not so not so great as the differences between creating visual art and music. And I think using that computer allows you to broaden your horizons. So I think that's great.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely magic behind these devices for sure. Um, I didn't want to discount that, but it's a different kind of magic. And yeah, definitely. I just feel like I am, and we are all like multi-dimensional beings. And I feel like the reason that we're alive is, to be able to explore that. And what better way to explore ourselves than, creating art, creating music, just, expressing what these intangible things that we feel. And yeah, it's sometimes hard to put into words. So that's what art music is for, I suppose.
We're gonna talk more about that multi-dimensional quality of. Oh,
Mm.
it looks like you're vertical now. You still with me? All right. Well, you know what? That is a good opportunity to start playing her music and to look at some of her artwork. So while she figures out how to get herself horizontal, I'm gonna put this on, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes. And we're back.
Hello.
Hey, you with me? I can't see you on
Yeah.
my screen. There we go.
Okay. Different dimensions, but I'm here.
That
My
was really nice.
Yo, thank you. Appreciate that.
You know, have you ever seen your music paired with your artwork before?
No, I haven't actually. I thought it was interesting because yeah, they kind of work well together.
Yeah, I think so. There's something both earthly and otherworldly about both your art and your music. And when I was putting them together, I thought it was pretty cool. So nice
Thank
job.
you. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely feel like I well, I don't try, but I'm channeling something into another world for sure. Something in another dimension. I feel like I do. I don't know.
Yeah, all your pieces have this sort of extra dimensional quality to them.
Thank you. I'll take that as
Um,
a
you're welcome. And I want to ask you more about, the kind of extra dimensions that we might live in, and whether we are living in a matrix, which is the whole point of the show. Um, but before we move on to that, can you tell me anything else about those artworks in particular, what they meant to you, and what kind of how did they change now being paired to this music? And by the way, I think you should do more things like that in the future, taking your artwork and taking your music and finding a way to kind of like collaborate with yourself.
Oh, thank you. I would like to do that actually. It would be cool to project it. I had kind of these visions of doing like a pop-up where people can like make their own cards on the screen and like maybe have this music in the background. I don't know, something more immersive would be cool, I think. So thank you for that. Um, And with those pieces, each of them actually, it was kind of like a journey through my little universe with all of them because as I kept doing them and interacting with more and more people, like for example, after I made my first original deck, which I think I kind of I'm having a hard time remembering which ones were in there, but let's say some of those were from my deck that were meant to be specifically cards for my deck, and then I branched out and started doing personal healing intentions for people throughout the course of the pandemic, basically. So I was
Mm,
asking people like what their favorite animal, plant, and flower was, an intention, and it was just interesting because they were all similar in a way, like by the concept, but depending on the person I was interacting with and like what they would exchange and the energy they had, like the cards would all come out different. I could even get the same animal or intention like 5 different times, and it would always come out different based on the way that person or whoever they were. Like
mm.
it was an interesting kind of social experiment as well. And yeah, I was just getting to know more about people and like what their true intentions and desires are for like healing and yeah. So those all meant different things to me. Like they just remind me of my different interactions with the people that I made them for or who inspired them. So um, yeah, they're pretty sentimental in some ways.
Well, thanks for sharing them and putting them live on display for the world.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So now that we're in our last segment of the show, I want to ask you the big question: um, Are we living in the Matrix? And first, before saying anything else, can you give me a yes or no answer? Can you boil it down to that simple binary?
Are we living in a matrix? I I think yes and no. Can I
All
say
right.
that?
Yeah. So, can you elaborate now that you've given us your answer?
Sure. Yes, we are living in this three-dimensional, like physical reality where we wash our dishes, we have things to clean. Like we are here in this dimension of reality, and that to me is the matrix.
Mm,
However, I feel we also exist in other dimensions as well. And uh, basically the key for me is, or the thing I've been practicing or trying to learn, is how I don't think the objective is to really escape the matrix because we're here and we're not really going anywhere. I mean, we could actually project and travel if we wanted to, but I think the idea is to be able to learn how to become like the master of yourself, this reality of like of the matrix that we all share. So yes and no. And I feel like we just our higher self exists on like higher dimensions, and if we become connected to that, we can influence this matrix. Yes and no.
Gotcha. So there's multiple dimensions out there. We
Yeah.
might be inhabiting more than just one of them, and we are living in the matrix. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Exactly.
According to your view.
In my view, it's not a bad thing. It's actually great. Well, if we are able to open our minds and expand our consciousness and realize that, because I feel like a lot of it has been like, oh, we got to get out of the matrix and escape it. But like, I feel like there's no way to really do that.
Mm.
Prolonged anyway. I feel like there's something we have to do here in the matrix. So that's how I like to view it. Yeah, and every experience I have is like a reflection of what's internal. So it's like a constant mirror, like a projection of like, that interplay for me personally. That's my experience with the matrix.
So would you say we're living in the matrix in more ways than one, or multiple matrices? Um, is it a social matrix that we're living in? Is it a technological matrix? Or I suspect you think it's more like a larger cosmological nature of reality than the matrix. Which one of those things would you say we are inside of? And it's okay to say we're in more than just one of them.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we're definitely in more than just one, and some systems have been constructed in ways that impact different individuals. And yeah, I definitely feel like there's more than one happening. There's just like layers. To me, everything is like multidimensional, and like
Mm.
every timeline and every layer of things like has more layers to it. It's just like infinite expansion into like all these different directions. So yeah, I'd say it's all of those things all the time.
So, what layers are we inside of then? What are the different parts of the matrix?
Well, I would definitely say like the way uh, networks, like money, different social constructs, like just how it all comes together
Hmm.
to um, create our individual experience. Like I'm sure my experience as a woman and your experience as a man, like as an artist, also are two totally different. Like what realms we get to experience, and yeah, I think it's all of these things.
So, in terms of like the sort of technological structure that we live in, can you tell me more of your thoughts on that? Is some people think that um, that this web of new technologies that's surrounding us all the time is creating its own sort of matrix that we're increasingly stuck inside of. It's kind of hard to escape technology these days, and we're obviously benefiting from it since we're using it right now, and we use it every day. But yeah, what kind of system are we creating around ourselves, and especially from the perspective of someone who makes art and music using those systems.
Sure, yeah, I personally have like a challenging relationship with especially like social media and like being fully plugged in here. And there's been times like I've taken months and years and weeks, and I go on and off because I just uh I can just feel that I don't want to completely merge or like be unconscious of the fact that like we are all projecting these avatars into this space, and like it's a place we go and it takes our energy. And yeah, I just prefer to be very conscious of my use of it, and um, yeah, I can just see over time, especially I've been very observant through these past couple of years and before, of like the changes and how deeply we've become immersed and submerged in this whole thing. And at some points I'd be like, I hate this all. Like, this is awful. And like, look what it's doing to people. It's disconnecting us in other ways, and like, but then everything is bad and good. So I eventually had to like reconcile. Like, okay, in some ways, like, this is ruining our attention span. Like, it's doing so many harmful things. Like, we don't even know what could be possibly doing to our minds, and like definitely mental health for sure. But then there's definitely also so many benefits and pluses that we get to interact with people from across the world and like make connections. And it's kind of, yeah, it's definitely been a challenge accepting this. It's like a different paradigm that we've entered. And yeah, I've tried to actually exist without it, and I just keep getting sucked back in. No matter what I do. So
It's hard.
very,
Yeah.
especially as an artist, like, you can't not exist here now.
Yeah, it's so ubiquitous. And if you want to, whatever making it as an artist means to you, it's nearly impossible without relying on some sort of digital media.
Right. Everyone immediately asked, "Can I see your Instagram?" And when the time when I was off it, I was like, "Here's my website." Like, do you know what a website is?
But like you said, there's good to it and there's bad to it, because if we didn't both have Instagram to keep track of each other, we couldn't have done this.
That's true. Exactly.
So I want to ask you, what other way? How is technological advancement in this way altering us? Like, let's take a deeper look into that. And where do you think it's going if things don't change? What's the ultimate direction?
Well, I'm afraid for humanity, like people, as occupying rooms together just seems.
Mm,
I feel like we can't help it. I know it's been like an ongoing thing. It's either we choose the present moment in like our reality, like our physical 3D matrix, or like where we get sucked into our phones sometimes, and like sometimes we just have to answer something or like go on there and do something. But like the amount of times I see parents on their phones, like when they're walking with their kids, or like, instead of being present with them, they're just like in their phone. And it always broke my heart seeing that, like, in the beginning. And I was just like, oh, that's awful. And then eventually, like, seeing, parents don't want to deal with their kids. So, like, they just give them the phone, like, just give them the toy, like, let them go in there, and like, I don't have to worry. So that's concerning because their brains are still developing. We don't know what that's doing to their, like, attention span and brains. And then like these young children wanting to be, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a TikTok star. Like, now that's their new, um, aspiration in life. So it's definitely crazy to see how far it's come and just gotten. So yeah, I'm concerned for people's mental health and the way everybody, like, compares. We can't help but compare it to other people. And
mm.
then with like self-image, it's like a big thing, and people's self-confidence, and just like this whole thing, that's a whole other conversation. But there's just a lot of concerns I have. That's why I try to keep myself as mindfully detached as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And you're definitely not wrong in having those concerns. I think we had a private conversation earlier on the very thing you mentioned, that everyone these days wants to be they want to be doing what we're doing right now, but they want to have a whole career based off of that. And it's sort of paradoxical, because the more people who want to do that, the fewer people probably can, just based on the sheer amount of competition that's out there.
Yep.
And we're all gravitating towards this media, but what about the other things outside of it? People are increasingly losing interest in the things outside. So that's definitely a valid concern.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad.
No,
Since
it's not. I had to uh, find gratitude for the things that, the things we get to enjoy from these platforms and things, connections.
and over the last few hundred years, or really just 150 maybe, This has been the nature of our society. Every few decades, we experience a new paradigm shift in what we can do as people, and how society is structured. From I'm sure people had concerns about the advent of the telephone and the deviation from slowly writing a letter to your friends and
Yeah.
family to instantly communicating, and how that could change the world in negative ways. But now we couldn't imagine life without being able to call someone on the phone.
Mhm.
And I'm sure the same thing was true of movies and television. And that's just how it's going to be. Everything changes. And the only concern is how rapidly it's changing, I think.
Yeah,
Whether we can keep up with that.
exactly. I heard something about like AI, like becoming human or something. Like I don't know, just some concerning stuff about like how fast we're progressing into this. Yeah, so yeah, definitely, it's something to think about for sure. To be
So
mindful of.
another thing I want to think about, before we close our hour, and we'll go a little beyond an hour. Um, but I know that you think that the kind of matrix we live in is not just technological, but more cosmological too. And I want to get more of your thoughts on that. What is the universe that we're living inside of? And what evidence do we have that reality is a sort of matrix or a simulation,
Mhm.
um, a cosmic computer? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So, where can I begin? To that's such a big question. Well,
It's a big question.
well, I was very interested in physics at some point, and metaphysics, and like string theory. I remember like
Mm.
learning about these higher dimensions and all of that. So I don't know. I truly believe that there's just like an infinite amount of timelines that we can access at any given moment, and we are the universe, like constantly interacting with itself and learning about itself. So like it can go as far as uh for example, like did I choose to take my bike to work or something, or did I choose to, I don't know, take the train? And like those two different paths are like splitting into two totally different timelines, totally different realities. Like did I take about, and like, and from that, like you can encounter different people and like different situations and circumstances. So to me, it's just like limitless branching. And when you start becoming aware of how you're impacting this branching, and I feel like the kind of scariest and most challenging part is taking responsibility, because then you have to, with every choice you make, you have to learn to suffer the consequences. So in this
Mm.
universe, like we have to choose all these timelines, and then our past, certainly the things we did in the past and the actions we had like affect our present day, and like where that can take us, and just how we live in this multi-dimensional space, and just learning to be more conscious of how you're affecting uh, everything that's going on around you. Your choices is yeah, I think that's the more expanded, to have the expanded consciousness and awareness. You're recognizing that you're like actively a player in this whole game, and or like red pill blue pill, like do you want to just kind of fall in and fall along and be swept up in whatever way, or do you want to like influence it purposefully and change things for yourself intentionally? So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but I feel like I went on a little rant.
That's okay. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you think are the implications of that? Not just for the individual person, knowing or believing in that concept, how that could inform the decisions in a person's life. But what do you think are the larger implications of that for all of us collectively?
Well, collectively, I believe that once people wake up and start realizing that they influence each other and themselves, like the idea would, and the hope would be that we would all want to help one another and bring each other up in all of this. And yeah, that would be ideal, of course. We're still humans and things get messy and confusing, and things are challenging. But yeah, I feel like if people are more aware, then, they would definitely be more responsible and do things that are more towards the greatest good of the all. And, yeah, I feel like it would be a greater contribution. So if people were more aware.
Another question I have for you, and you kind of answered this a little bit earlier, but um, how you don't think that we can necessarily escape the matrix or leave the reality in a prolonged way, but you think I think there is a distinction between not being able to leave at all and just not being able to leave for good. So what ways do you think we have to break free from that, and what's outside of it?
Sure. Well, in my eyes, like breaking free from the matrix is breaking free from uh, the certain limitations and conditions that we were born into, and that limit us as beings. And to me, the way to do that is through creativity and connection with other people on the same mission. But yeah, I think once a person starts becoming aware of themselves, like, and doing the inner work, and starts observing how that changes their interactions with like a person, for example, and how that leads to a different outcome. And it's just it's a long process. And to me, it involves a lot of deprogramming. Like, we've all been programmed, just in many different ways. So yeah, there's a lot of that goes into it. And yeah, just it's a lot to me. It's a lot of inner work that has to happen um, for breaking out of said matrix. Well, for playing in it in a more conscious way. I feel like we're not trying to break out. We're just trying to break out of unconsciousness. To me, that's what
Hmm.
it means. Because the hope is to be consciously uh, working with the matrix, not like trying to escape like some oppressive force. I feel like people paint it as this like oppressive machine, dark energy force that's like we're all slave to it. It's bad, but I mean, that's just, I guess, a perspective way of looking at it in a way. But yeah, I prefer to just see it as like, are we aware and conscious of the things we do and what that creates, or unconscious and yielding unconscious results?
Great. I want to reiterate what that one last question that I asked you. So, what do you think, we're here to do exactly? And what do you think is the alternative to being here? If we're here for a certain purpose and we're inside this matrix, what is the matrix itself, and what what is outside of it? What is the alternative? What is that other reality that we're coming through from?
Hmm. That's a layered question. You start
And
with
it's
the
okay if you
beginning.
don't have an answer to that.
I'm sorry, could you ask the beginning part of the question and then I'll go from there again?
I guess what is the matrix itself? What is the nature of it? And
Uh-huh.
if we're inside of something that is you know like apart from some larger reality, what is that larger reality outside of the matrix? Does that make sense?
Sure, yes. I think the matrix is a veil, is like this illusion. I definitely have experienced other realities outside of this uh, collective dream, I guess, this 3D matrix. Um, I feel like the purpose of this is it's actually a chance for us to become conscious. It's a chance for us to become aware of ourselves and each other, and like as a reflection of this universe that we're a part of, and it's a chance for us to more consciously co-create with that, because in other dimensions and realities, like there's not, I'm assuming, I mean, it's not the same. So I feel like we all, especially artists or people who connect on this like creative level that are like yearning for this truth or this like higher understanding or knowledge, like that's just our purpose here. And I'm getting goosebumps right now is that I feel like we all were this one consciousness, and we split just to like really understand ourselves from all these different lenses and like be able to remember that is kind of a magical thing and an experience. And yeah, I hope that, you know, the way the Matrix has been painted in a way, like I hope we can kind of reframe that. I feel like wording and just like lots of um, I guess popular cultural things can be, you know, can take holds and like paint things a certain way. But I just feel like we all have the power to shift our beliefs and understanding of things, and, you know, approach things from a more empowered state. So, yeah.
Well, thanks. That's a great perspective.
Thank you.
I think that's probably a good place to start winding down too.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming aboard. For anyone who's watching out there, and for anyone who's watching after this is done broadcasting live, um, let people know, who are you? Where can they find you online?
Sure. Thank you. Well, now I operate two uh, internet identities, but you can find me easily on Elixir Healing Art or just my name, Eve Katharsis. Those are my Instagrams. And my website is www.elixirhealing.art. So you can find my work and you can connect with me there. Also, I have been doing like guided intuitive tarot readings and guidance and things like that. So you can find all that information down there as well. So you can find me on Instagram and my website, and yeah, that's mostly where you can connect with me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, so that was Eve Katharsis. My name is Doug Rizzio, and before we go, just to ask these questions again. Are we living in the Matrix? Is the universe just one big simulation? What if everything we thought we knew was nothing more than virtual reality? Ponder the answers to these questions and more next time on Glitch in the Matrix. Bye.